Imagine sitting on your balcony, turquoise water stretching out before you, the sun dipping low, and you clutch the keys to what you believed was your piece of Florida paradise. You traded in cold winters, you followed the dream, you saw the condo towers rise, you felt the promise. Low taxes, sunshine, rental income, your equity climbing year after year. But now, instead of climbing, that dream is collapsing. What used to feel bulletproof is turning brittle. In city after city, places once considered untouchable, condo prices are plunging by 25%, 30%, even 32%. Families who thought they were safe are now watching savings vanish. Retirees on fixed incomes face insurance premiums skyrocketing, monthly fees swelling, special assessments appearing out of nowhere. Investors who once poured in are quietly backing away. Inventory is flooding the market. HOAs are demanding more. And the cost of keeping a roof over your head? Higher than ever. This isn't just a minor correction in the Florida real estate market, it's a reckoning, a structural reset. And if you're living in Florida, buying or thinking about buying, you need to watch this all the way through. Because your piece of the Sunshine State, it might not feel so safe anymore. Stay with me as we dive deep into the top 10 Florida cities where the condo market is crashing in 2025 and uncover what's driving the collapse, who's getting hurt, and what it means for the future of Florida housing. Let's set the scene. In the immediate aftermath of the pandemic, the real estate boom in Florida looked unstoppable. People flocked to the state, shipping containers of furniture, working remote from oceanfront towers, buying condos sight unseen. The headlines were all about skyrocketing prices, bidding wars, and cash buyers. Then things shifted, hard. In cities like Sarasota, what once sold for $600,000 in 2022 is now sitting at around $420,000, a staggering 30% drop. Inventory has jumped 65% year over year as sellers slash prices just to get out. Insurance premiums that used to run around $3,000 a year are now topping $9,000. HOAs and required reserves push monthly ownership costs above $1,200 before even touching the mortgage. Retirement plans? Trapped underwater. Investors? Yields have spiraled from 7% down under 3%. Then, north of Sarasota in Bradenton, condos that peaked near $400,000 are now trading under $280,000. Inventory is up 70% as 1,500 listings clog the MLS. Monthly HOA dues are now $500 to $900. Insurance bills once $2,800 are past $7,000. With 7% mortgage rates, carrying costs hit $2,200 plus a month. Rental yields collapsed, investors are fleeing. And it goes further. Cities like Ocala, an inland, seemingly safe city, fell too. Peak prices around $220,000 now, $160,000, a 27% drop, inventory up 62%. Mortgage rates near 7% push modest units to over $1,300 a month. Insurance jumped $1,800 to $5,000 a year. Even inland, no ocean view, the crisis found a home. In Orlando, the tourism-driven boom turned into oversupply. Condos peaking in the low $300,000, now hovering around $230,000, listing inventory doubled to some 3,500 units unsold. HOA fees $600 to $1,000, insurance doubled since 2021. With all that, even working families are priced out. The story repeats. Cape Coral, Jacksonville, West Palm Beach, Tampa, Aventura, and at number 1, Pensacola, each showing their own version of this crash. Double-digit drops, inventory surges, insurance, and HOA costs exploding, investor retreat. What we're witnessing is not a minor cooling. It's a crash, a reckoning of what happens when the Florida condo dream meets reality. Why is this happening? To unpack it, we need to look at the structural forces at work, the forces beyond the flashy headlines of price tags and for sale signs. First, carrying costs soared. During the boom, low interest rates and high demand masked the real cost of ownership. A buyer could imagine a $600,000 condo with a 3% mortgage, reasonable insurance, modest HOA. But roll time forward, mortgage rates near 7%, homeowners insurance premiums tripling, quadrupling, HOAs forced into large reserve funding or assessments, because many buildings are aging and require repair. In Sarasota, for instance, insurance premiums once $3,000 are now $9,000 plus. Monthly HOAs surpassing $1,200 before mortgage. When the cost to own outpaces what the market believes is acceptable, buyers step back. Second, investor demand and rental yield collapse. The investor wave drove many purchases, short-term rentals, Airbnb income, speculation on endless appreciation. But in Bradenton, for example, occupancy dropped below 55% and nightly rates are down 20%. Rental yields fell from 7% to under 3%. When investors can't cover costs and hope for appreciation, they pull out. That reduces demand, increases supply, and forces deeper price cuts. Third, supply shock meets demand decline. During the boom, supply was tight, prices soared, and expectations soared. Younger buyers flooded in. But now, listings are pouring onto the market. Inventory up 65% in Sarasota, 70% in Bradenton, 85% in Tampa. Buyers are scarce. The psychology flips from fear of missing out to fear of overpaying. In Ocala, the agent said, "We've gone from bidding wars to silence." When sellers panic and list en masse, prices drop, and that drop itself dampens buyer confidence. Fourth, regulatory and insurance risk. After the 2021 Surfside condominium collapse, stricter inspection laws, reserve funding mandates, and structural assessments exploded across Florida. Some buildings face special assessments of $10,000 to $60,000 per unit. Insurance companies are exiting high-risk zones or hiking premiums. Mortgage lenders are refusing to finance older buildings or ones with deferred maintenance. For example, in Aventura, condo assessment bills are $25,000 to $60,000 per unit. That kind of risk makes both buyers and finance parties back away. It changes the math of buying from "what's my payment" to "what's the worst-case scenario?" Fifth, affordability and demographic shift. The dream of Florida was always sunshine plus tax friendliness plus value. But when carrying costs rise dramatically, affordability falls. Retirement income households, middle-income working families, remote workers budgeted based on 2021 math. But 2025 math is very different. In Pensacola, ownership costs exceed $2,200 monthly in a city where median income is $60,000. When homeowners are underwater or working families are priced out, the market voids grow. Additionally, migration flows that fed the boom. Buyers from high-tax northern states are slowing or reversing in some areas. According to regional data, out-of-state driver license exchanges into Miami-Dade and Palm Beach counties dropped in 2025. Sixth, sentiment and psychology. Real estate is partly emotion. During a boom, optimism spreads. Prices only go up. During a bust, fear spreads. What kind of cost am I going to inherit? In Tampa, developers are offering closing credits, furniture packages, even covering a year of HOA just to keep projects moving. That's desperation. Realtors say confidence is broken. When confidence cracks, even structurally sound markets stall. Now, what does this mean for Florida's economy and housing demand? If you're a homeowner who bought at the peak, you could be stuck with negative equity. If you're an investor, you might face cash flow losses. If you're a potential buyer, you're watching from the sidelines wondering if now is the moment, or if you should wait. For the broader Florida economy, housing is a major pillar. Construction, services, migration, tax base. If the condo market collapses, ripple effects hit contractors, insurance firms, neighborhood vitality, local government revenue. For real estate investors, the message is clear. Florida is no longer immune. You can't assume sun plus C plus tax break equals safe investment. The math is now, can you afford the roof, the assessment, the insurance, the HOA, the mortgage? If the answer is shaky, the dream becomes a liability. So what does that broader context tell us? It tells us that what we're seeing in Florida isn't just a local correction, it's a wake-up call. It signals what happens when too many fundamentals align to strip away the assumption of perpetual growth. For investors, it means location alone is no longer enough. Cost structure matters, risk matters, maintenance matters. For homeowners and future buyers, it means you're not just buying a view or a fantasy, you're buying into a financial ecosystem That ecosystem must be sustainable, and many Florida condos aren't proving that they are. Finally, for your viewers, if you're watching this from another state or another country, thinking Florida is still cheap, or still growing, or safe, ask yourself, do you understand the true cost of ownership now? Would you buy a condo where the HOAs could triple, insurance could soar, and resale value could drop 30%? The Florida condo crash is a cautionary tale, but also an opportunity. For those who have done their homework, this moment may present value. But for those relying on boom-time assumptions, it's a trap. The truth is this: what happened in Florida wasn't supposed to happen, at least not on this scale and not so fast. But reality caught up. From Sarasota to Pensacola, from Orlando to Aventura, condo prices that once seemed invincible are falling. Insurance is punishing. HOAs are demanding. Investors are leaving. The dream of low-risk, high-return condo living in Florida? It's cracked. So, what does this mean for the future of Florida's dream homes? First, it means the Sunshine State is still beautiful. The ocean still sparkles. People will still want to live here. But the question becomes, can they afford it sustainably? Can the average family carry its share of a cost when surprise assessments hit? Can retirees on fixed incomes survive spiraling insurance? And can investors rely on the cash flow models of 2021 or earlier? The Florida housing market wasn't insulated from hard economics. It simply postponed them. That postponement is over. Florida real estate now faces a structural reset. It isn't just a market cooling. It's a recalculation of who can afford what and under what terms. For buyers and owners today, don't buy the dream without doing the math. Ask the tough questions, inspect the reserves, understand risk, don't trust yesterday's assumptions. For sellers, understand you're competing in a different market. For investors, the capital rush is gone. Value will come to those who understand cost, risk, and time. Save for the surprise. Plan for the assessment. Respect the natural disaster. Because Florida's condo collapse isn't just about markets. It's about lives, stability, and aspiration. And the fallout will touch anyone who believed hype more than numbers. So I leave you with this. Is the Sunshine State becoming too expensive to live in, or too valuable to ignore? The answer will depend not on sun or sea, but on math, on risk, on reality. Because dreams don't just survive, they depend on foundations. And for thousands of condo owners in Florida today, the foundation is shaking. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey valuable, like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's thinking of buying in Florida. The sun still shines, but the storm is here. Then insurance and regulation. Post-Surfside, Florida's passed laws requiring buildings 3 stories or more to have structural inspections, reserve funds, mandatory assessments. Insurance firms have pulled out of many high-risk coastal zones, forcing residents into state-backed plans or massive premiums. As one policy provider explained, the cost of rebuilding after hurricanes, sea level rise, and flood risk has made high-coast condos less attractive. That changes the investment equation. Owning condo isn't just location, but can you afford risk and can you stay afloat during something unexpected? Also consider mortgage rate trends. During the boom, rates were historically low. Now, rates in the 6 to 7% range mean an extra few $100s a month for a typical condo mortgage. That difference multiplies when you add big insurance and HOA. When affordability breaks, even a nice unit is no longer viable. According to forecasts, mortgage rates may dip to approximately 6.3% by end of 2025, but not much lower. That means carrying costs remain high. Another aspect, migration and job flows. Florida's growth story was built on people moving in: retirees, remote workers, high-tax state escapees, international buyers. But now, data shows out-of-state license exchanges and inward migration are slowing in key counties. When demand slows while supply swells, the result is downward pressure. We can also look at the two Floridas phenomenon. Even as some ultra-luxury markets hold up, for instance, beachfront mansions in places like Naples still fetch multi-million-dollar prices. Mid-market condos for middle-income owners are collapsing. In a recent article, Cape Coral was named America's worst housing market with nearly 8% of homeowners underwater. The lesson: not all Florida is the same. The ultra-rich can absorb risk and carry costs. regular folks cannot. Climate risk and natural disaster risk also play part. Florida is low-lying, hurricane-prone, flood zones keep expanding. Buyers increasingly factor in the possibility of major weather events, repair costs, and evacuation risk. Some are voting with their feet. When you add those risks to rising insurance and HOA/reserve assessments, the math starts tilting away from hazard to caution. Let's give a human voice to this. Imagine a retired couple in West Palm Beach who downsized into a beachfront condo thinking their cost of living would drop. Instead, their HOA doubled, insurance tripled to $12,000 a year. Special assessment arrives for $30,000. They're underwater. They face walking away. Or an investor in Orlando who bought a short-term rental expecting occupancy near 80%. Instead, occupancy is 50%. Nightly rates down, mortgage payment up, inspection bill hits $15,000 this year. That's not a gamble, it's a trap. Florida's dream home has become a financial storm for many. So, for you as a viewer, if you're thinking of buying a condo in Florida, ask yourself, what are the true lifetime costs? Can I handle insurance risk? What's the reserve position of the building? Are rents and occupancy realistic or optimistic? Isn't this simply buying into the tail end of a boom when the correction is already full swing? The days of carefree ownership are over. This is real estate on reset. To fully grasp the magnitude of what's happening in Florida, we need to pull back and look at broader context, both historical and national, and ask how this compares, what we can learn, and what other markets are doing. Let's start with history. The last major U.S. housing crash in 2007 to 2008 taught us about over-leverage and speculative lending. But Florida's current condo collapse isn't about bad mortgages. It's about cost structure, insurance, regulation, demographic shifts. It's a different kind of collapse. The risk now is not reckless lending, but sustainable ownership economics. Some analysts call it a structural reset. Now, look at national comparisons. Other coastal markets in the U.S. are showing signs of softening. According to a report from Atlanta Fed, the South Florida condo market under $500,000 has seen price drops of 6 to 7% in the first quarter of 2025. Meanwhile, high insurance and high HOA markets are under pressure elsewhere, too. What Florida highlights is how extreme the combination can be. Flood risk plus hurricane risk plus heavy inspection mandates plus aging condos, plus investor reliance, plus high interest rates equals perfect storm.